said that there is power in numbers. The National Population Commission, NPC, recently estimated Nigeria's population to be 206 million. What is the consequence of this for Nigeria? Is it a gain to Nigeria, or does it have a negative effect on the country? This is reported on Blessing.
Considering the fact that Nigerians are very intelligent and with a lot of mental capacity and abilities, it should have been, in quotes, the greatest blessing on earth. But it just goes to show that when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Nigeria, as at this moment, is not planned. We can't even tell. In fact, I'm surprised that NCP was able to tell us the demographics. We can't even tell the number of people that live in a particular city or in a particular village. We can't tell the professions that we have. We can't tell the number of students that we have. We can't tell anything in this country because we have no database. Nothing is being captured. You go to the hospital today and you have to go tomorrow. It's a fresh history all over again. There is nothing fed anywhere. So if you have 206 million people that have no plan, or that the government has not planned for, what is waiting to happen, and God forbid it for Nigeria, is a disaster waiting to happen.
Our forefathers, the past, when they have larger family, they tell you that that determines the strength, the economic strength of the family. When they go to farm, they go with all their children, and they can get back so much products from the farm to feed the family, or even take to the market to sell. So when you have such larger population in a country like Nigeria, you're going to give us the market for any product. That is if this population is being put in productive use, in terms of if we have industries, homegrown industries, you are going to find these hands into those areas, generating revenue for our country. Manufacturing product that could be exported. But where these hands, this so much population is not being put to proper use, you are going to have a negative impact in the economy. So like you are saying now, the crime rate is on the increase, armed robbery, kidnapping, name it, all sort of crime, spring from every nook and cranny of the country. Because why? They are not being put to productive use.
This number of population, or this much population in Nigeria, up to 206 million now. Only within a gap of 2019 and 2020, we have over 6 million added to our population. It's really very disturbing in the sense that Nigeria is a developing nation and we have been in trouble, so many problems, afflicting Nigeria, and now population is going up. So there are so many questions we have to ask. There are two sides really to population. The first is something that we will say is good, we have more people. The other side is not very good. And if you come to economic terms, on one side you have the supply side, and then the other you have the demand side. This supply side is that assuming this population is well trained, assuming this population can join the labor force, then we will produce more. We have never focused on our population policies. I remember that Babangida had one where he said every Nigerian couple should have 4 children alone. Today, we are exceeding that. People say have 7, people say have 8. And our population growth rate is going as 2.6%, which is higher if you compare it to many other countries around us.
The leadership is able to take advantage of the high and rising population. It can be an avenue, a catalyst to fast track the country's economic development. But if the leadership is not able to take advantage of it, then it will become a burden to the country. So those are the two ways to it. So we need to have an informed leadership that understands the importance of an educated citizenry to be able to take advantage of the population, especially considered against the background, of the age distribution of the population. The huge population being made up predominantly of the youthful population, who have the capacity, to drive the development process. So if the leadership is aware and sincere and make genuine effort to educate the citizens by way of putting in place functional education, it can be a catalyst for the country's economic development.
And looking at the large population we have in Nigeria, and yet our industries are not growing, there's unemployment, there is food scarcity. Of course, it's going to have serious implications on the health of the individuals. Even our health institutions are poorly funded. There are not enough doctors in the hospital still because of the poor economy that we have as a result of poorly managed population. So you discover that it's going to test so much on the health sector, and you can even, if you remember, the doctors are leaving the country in drones. Nurses are also going out, and we have very soon we will not have enough of manpower even in the health sector. So in my view, I think government need to be proactive, and so that some of these population issues can be addressed properly.
It is not a comfortable development that the population of the country is increasing at a relatively alarming rate. The growth rate is about 3%, and that's the reason why it has now come to a figure of about 206 million. Compared to the infrastructure available to the country in various spheres, in the social sector sphere, education, health, and even economic spheres, then the population is growing too much. In the area of education, because the largest proportion of the growing population relates to youths and children, then you find that the facilities available, the educational infrastructures have become inadequate, in relation to the resources available to provide such infrastructure, particularly school buildings, teaching facilities, then the social services within the educational institutions. The pressure of the student population on infrastructure is much, and that has resulted in certain unrest, quiet discomforts within the educational institutions, to the effect that students, children complain of inadequate infrastructure, and that's because there is so much pressure. And again, you find that even to gain admission into tertiary institutions, like the public tertiary institutions, is becoming a serious problem. So year in, year out, millions of eligible students apply for admission into universities, into polytechnics, and they cannot get admission because the spaces are limited. And that suggests that the population is growing much faster than the facilities that are required to make the students, the teachers, the workers in the systems comfortable to provide or produce their best and have high productivity.
It's merely an estimate. The last census organized was in 2006. That's up to about 14 years back. So in the Committee of Nations, especially in the United Nations, population growth of every country is very relevant in order to determine advancement, aid, cost of living, and the general welfare of the citizenry. In Nigeria, for instance, now estimated at 206 million via maybe projection. So with this estimated projection, we're almost leading in Africa as the most populous country in Africa, and will be one of the highest in the world. But it has its own backlog of projection, because we are not expected to have a timid population where people are idle, where people are unemployed, where the daily rate and the daily income is below average. It will help the Ministry of Statistics, the Ministry of Finance, and the general well-being of Nigeria to match everything to be commensurate with the estimated populace. It gives us political advantage in the Committee of Nations. We can now talk in OAU, ECOWAS, Commonwealth countries, because population means power. So that we are rising is very laudable.
For the good side, it's a big country and it's a large market for investors. It has a lot to offer in terms of military strength and economic advantages. On the bad side, like we always say, it's not about the number of people in the country, the amount of human capital, what they can do, their capabilities, and that requires serious education for this population, serious health care, and serious provision for housing and all these facilities they will use so that they can realize their full potential. You know, it is estimated that Nigeria grows at 3% per annum, but our GDP, our wealth should also grow at a higher percentage for it to be meaningful. Otherwise, we are simply growing people into poverty. So it is also estimated that at the current growth rate, Nigeria's population will double in 30 years' time to 400 million. These 400 million people will need houses, healthcare, roads, bridges, infrastructural facilities like power, railway stations, transport, and things like that. So the government should see it as an opportunity to be able to ensure investors come into this country, provide enabling environment for businesses to thrive so that these people can have enough income. Now by 2050, Nigeria will be able to maximize the potential of our population, which is currently the largest in Africa, and become a global powerhouse where companies can come and do business, hoping to make a lot of money because the human beings, the human potential of the country is great.
According to respondents, having a population of 206 million can be good or bad. It depends on what we do with it. Can we convert our population to human capital so that it can attract wealth to Nigeria so the country can be developed? They've also recognized that there's need for Nigeria to begin to control the rate at which its population increases. I'm Leslie AJ. This is Weekly.